TGS 2019 hit hard. We got a bunch of new announcements, and that's what we're talking about today. Hi, folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 new things announced at TGS 2019. Coming in at number 10 is, of course, Castlevania Grimoire of Souls, which on first glance might come off kinda bad. It's a new Castlevania game that is widescreen with high-def graphics, and the graphics, I'm gonna go ahead and say, make some weird choices. Nothing unforgivable, but still. The main thing that's really got people kind of suspicious is that it's for iOS and Android, and not for anything else. And yet, still, to be completely honest, the game the trailer's showing off actually looks good to me. You have to look past some of the presentation and what platforms it's coming to, but it looks paced well, the moves look right, the general tone of it looks basically right. I mean, does it look as good as Bloodstained Ritual of the Night? No. But here's the thing, for a game that, intellectually speaking, the description of sounds horrific, a mobile version of Castlevania with kinda amateur-y graphics, the game itself actually looks fun. I think I will actually look at this with a positive outlook, at least for now. We'll see what they do. I mean, it is Konami, but I'm kind of excited, to be honest. Coming in at number 9, we found out what the hell Death Stranding is. I mean, at least to some extent. We saw an actual briefing as to what is going on in the game, which involves the United Cities of America, which is very clumsily explained, but charmingly in the Kojima way, rather than just bad. We also found out from Kojima that it's a very, very on-the-nose story about the world as it is today. The theme of the game is connection, and he wants to show that through connection, we're actually very fragmented. We saw gameplay that was pretty diverse, honestly. From what we'd originally seen of this game, there's a lot more involved, particularly in combat, where we kind of find out that death obviously isn't death, not in the traditional video game sense, in which when you die, you go to the land of the dead, trying to find a way back to the land of the living. And so do your enemies. The game will actively encourage non-violence, although you'll be able to not use non-violence. They purport that everything will have a consequence, including every enemy's death. It's Death Stranding, how can you not be super intrigued by it? I can't wait. Moving on to number 8, a few weeks ago, developer Gust announced that they were making a fairy tale game. If you're unfamiliar with the manga, it's a manga. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on the franchise or anything, but I gotta say the game looks good. We got to see some footage from it. It's a traditional JRPG. It's got a very specific style, which is, hey, it's anime. It's anime! But it really pulls it off. Like, every single frame looks like a real hand-drawn frame of animation. Anyways, it's going to be a turn-based JRPG with a crafting system. They showed off the base in Magnolia Town, and everyone is really happy to see Magnolia Town in 3D. It's very pretty looking. If you like the Persona 5 battle system, it looks very reminiscent of it to me, which took some cues from that Indivisible demo from a couple years ago, which seems to be finally surfacing as a game soon. And honestly, if you think I'm not going to play this game just based off of that, I am. Moving on to number 7, Gungrave Gore. Yes, reunion. There is another Gungrave game being made. These are games that came out on the PS2 way back in 2002, the sequel in 2004, and we've heard nothing about them since. Yasuhiro Naito of the previous games is returning as a quote-unquote image director. What exactly that means, I don't know, but I'm just making the assumption he is there specifically to ensure it's still Gungrave. It's being developed by Iggy Mob and is part of an overall project that started with Gungrave VR, which essentially serves as a prologue for this game. There's not really a lot more information than that, but I'm so interested to see how this goes. Gungrave was fun as hell. Coming in at number 6, we learned that, unfortunately, according to Masahiro Sakurai, Goku will not be in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. This is not a happy development. It's an announcement that unfortunately we will have to deal with on an emotional level. Because let's be serious here, it would be awesome if Goku was just in Super Smash Bros. Thanks for nothing. Actually, Smash Bros. Is going to be great either way. Moving on to number 5, for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, we learned a bunch of interesting new things. In particular, what it's going to look like to play as different characters. We got an extended dose of Vegeta, which, yes, thank you. I just want to go ahead and say how interested I am in this game. It looks like the most cohesive attempt at a non-fighting Dragon Ball Z game. I mean, it is a fighting game, as in there's fighting in the game, but it's an action RPG. And it's an absolutely wonderful looking action RPG that I cannot wait to dive headfirst into, even though I'm going to be playing through Goku's story again. I'm fine with that. It looks like what might be the best version of that as a game, and that potential is very exciting. Moving on to number 4, we found out there would be a Neo 2 open beta that will open on November 1st, and we saw a pretty badass boss fight that I look forward to playing. But what's even cooler is we got to see what co-op gameplay looks like, and they've announced that there will be 3-player co-op. And just needless to say, it looks good. It's Neo, but more. In fact, for whatever reason, it looks more fresh, more big, more grand. And they also talked about more things like how they'll do asynchronous multiplayer through what they're calling benevolent graves, a dark realm that you can be dragged into at any time, and the fact that Neo 2 is actually technically a prequel. They talked about actually a lot more. There's no way to talk about it as a single point in a larger video. But needless to say, I think it's pretty exciting. Neo was fantastic, and I can't wait to play Neo 2. Number 3, we heard about a new Resident Evil game, which is temporarily titled Project Resistance, an asymmetrical co-op experience that, although fans are kind of like, what? Has actually been getting a lot of positive feedback from people who have actually played it at the show. Now, does that necessarily mean it's going to be good? I don't know. It sounds interesting though. From what I've read, it really does a good job of preserving the survival horror atmosphere of Resident Evil while basically being a functioning version of Evolve, where you actually get to manipulate the environment as a monster known as the Mastermind, doing everything from turning lights off to putting down traps, spawning monsters. Honestly, it's really, really cool sounding. Apparently, if you're a survivor, it plays literally exactly like Resident Evil 2's remake. So, while I do have some cautions about it, I'm more interested in just seeing how it plays out. It's a definite interesting title to me. There's going to be a beta in October. Registration for that beta is open through September 18th. I think when the actual public gets to play it, that's when we'll all get to make more of a judgment call as to what it is, how well it works, etc. But in truth, I'm pretty interested, to be honest. Moving on to number 2, Tales of Arise got a new trailer, which went ahead and told us a little bit more about both the combat as well as what's actually going on in the game. And I'm just going to go ahead and say that the combat suddenly looks next level in the Tales series. It's real time, it's oriented towards special moves, it seems like, and it looks cool as hell. The graphics are of course obviously beautiful, and it looks to be telling kind of an interesting story about astral energy, feeling pain, and things like this. These are obviously mystical combined with very humanistic concerns. And although that's obviously not specifics, it does give us some clues, and that sounds pretty alright. And just to say it one more time, the graphics look friggin' amazing. It's probably easily the prettiest trying to look like anime game, period. And I think it's gonna be awesome, honestly. And finally, number 1, we got a massive amount of new information on the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which looks phenomenal. Like, we haven't really gotten to find out enough about what's going on, but we got a bunch of footage regarding the battle system, which gives us a lot to go off of. Specifically how it works, you basically perform actions which build active time battle meter points, I guess, and you expend those points doing actual command-oriented moves. Now, what you can do is set it into classic mode, in which all of the action stuff is basically taken care of by the computer. You just perform command-oriented attacks, which will function in a way a lot like the original game. I think honestly, I could see myself playing it either way. I hope you can switch it in-game rather than have to pick it at the beginning, because I'll definitely want to try both ways. We also learned that summons kind of act as a second character. You can equip a single summon materia to any character, and when a summon is fully charged, they're brought into the battle and fight alongside you. I like that. I think that's a good take on it for the kind of real-time battle system they've created, and I'm really excited basically just to see how this works. It's a very interesting fusion of a lot of Final Fantasy stuff, and may very well kind of define what a new generation of JRPG looks like. We'll see. And a few bonus things for you. The Kingdom Hearts DLC Remind got a trailer, and I'm not going to pretend I really have any idea what's going on in the trailer other than it looks cool. It's Kingdom Hearts. You basically can't judge anything ahead of time other than how it looks, and it looks good. Next is that Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, the really fantastic GameCube Final Fantasy game, is getting an HD remaster, and I'm happy that they're not remaking it or doing any major changes, because Crystal Chronicles is just a fantastic game. To be able to play it on PlayStation 4, Switch, and even iOS is going to be great. Next is a Trials of Mana remake, the sequel to Secret of Mana. After a lot of people were unhappy with the Secret of Mana remake, this is a different direction and looks a lot like a modern game, more so than the Secret of Mana remake. And I think that might be the right direction to take, although I will also want to play it first before saying such things. And although it wasn't necessarily announced at TGS, we did see for the first time, basically on the same timeline, System Shock 3 footage, and it looks really, really good. To say it looks terrifying and epic at the same time would be a massive understatement. And I'm really looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be the proper sequel we've all wanted for a long time. If not, at least a hell of a ride. But what did you think? Leave us a comment, let us know. If you like this video, please click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So click the subscribe button as well as the notification bell. As always, thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter, Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time, right here on gameranx.